Welcome, everyone. Today's all about music and mood. And I woke up recognizing, a little dark outside. We're now going into, less light. It's been a bit of a hectic week. And I was recognizing for myself how music can support me in that. We talked about during the art and science of music in week 2, where we looked at how music bypasses the verbal. One of the biggest things that can happen to us when we start feeling amped up or a little stressed out is we can't quite put the words to it. It becomes challenging for us. But music bypasses the verbal and goes right to the feelings. It can reflect back, mirror back what we are feeling in that particular moment. Another thing that music does is that there is no other activity we know of that activates more areas of the brain simultaneously than when we listen to music that matters to us. Those two pieces of information can help us access music in the way that we need in the moment. When we listen to music that matters to us, what we're doing is auditorily, we're identifying some of our values, what we care most about, and perhaps what we need. Today, we're going to look at what do we need. There is a quote from Colby Calais, who says, "A great song should lift your heart, warm the soul, and make you feel good." Doesn't that seem quite idealistic? Isn't that a wonderful way to look at music? But does it always work that way? I have to say that I am asked 2 questions more than any other. One is, I am asked by parents, so is the music that my child is listening to, that I'm hearing the words and I'm hearing all about what that song's about, is this going to ruin them forever? That's one question. The second one is sad music bad? How many people here love once in a while to listen to really sad music? And what does it do for us? It can validate us. It meets us in the moment. It takes care of some of those needs. And it can tell us that we're okay and we're not in it alone. So long as music does not make you feel sadder at the end of it, I'm going to say it's okay. If we do start feeling sadder with our music, I always recommend talking to a mental health professional in regards to that. There was one moment when I should have been doing that. I had my first child. All things considered, it was fine, At about 8 months old, found out I was having another baby. 8 months old. So I just went, no. So don't worry, I figured out where it was all coming from and I stopped it right away. But I was there later, another 9 months later, having 2 kids under the age of 3. That was a lot for me. I was approximately 25 years old. It was a lot. Going to school a little bit, working a bit, doing all the things. And I'm sure you can think of all the layers in your life that there are periods of time where you're going, I have no idea how I did that. That's how I look at that time. I remember this one particular day that I drove up to an intersection. And at that point, my youngest daughter was probably around a year or just before being a year old. And I can remember reaching down and turning on the radio. Now, that might not sound unique. We all turn on the radio in the car. But I realized that I had not turned on the radio in the car for the last 12 to 18 months. There may be gaps in the music that you listen to. We addressed our personal soundtrack when we were looking at our earliest musical memories all the way today. And if you can just quickly scan the thousands that were there, was there any point in your life where you took a break from music? And when you're a music lover, it's even more poignant than that. It indicated that I wasn't feeling great. And when I reached down and turned on the radio, it was an indicator I was feeling better. Take a moment just to think about that in your own life. Is sad music bad? No. Is not listening to music bad? No. Unless we see it as that indicator of something bigger. And that's when we definitely would want to be talking to somebody. I want to shift and look at something that I go into detail in within the book that this is based on, and that's the word entrainment. Entrainment, the actual description of it is merging with or synchronizing to the pulse of the music. When things start connecting. And then there's been some research, even with inanimate objects like two grandfather clocks, when side by side, eventually start to entrain with one another. We start doing that as human beings as well. And that's why one's mood can match the mood of the music and then gradually move with the music. But it's not just music. It's the people we hang out with. You know, have you noticed how you can ebb and flow a little bit with the people that you are hanging out with the most? You know, the moods can start moving. It is very difficult to be the happy one in the crowd when you're living with a couple of people who aren't so happy. So we tend to start bringing ourselves down a little bit in order to match. And hopefully they're coming up a bit too until we find that level of entrainment. Well, I thought that it would be fun to watch a 2.5-minute video today on that inanimate objects that I was talking about that can start going into time. We're going to watch 32 metronomes. The reason why I'm giving you some advanced warning is because I want you, as you're listening to it, engage with it, see how you're feeling as you're watching these 32 metronomes going completely out of sync to being in sync. And I want you to feel what that means to you. There's no one right answer at the end of it. We'll talk about it a little bit afterwards. So, are you ready for them? All right, here they are. Keep addressing how you're feeling. Keep your eye on the red one over on the right, second one in. There's one in every crowd. Going out of phase, and we'll come back. There it is, out of phase. Oh. All right, team. 32 metronomes. Now, I want immediate feedback. How'd you feel through that 2 minutes, 45-second clip? What was the evolution?
Bit of chaos to start.
Chaos to start, totally. Yeah. Did anyone like the chaos? Yeah. See, a couple people are going, oh yeah, that was the best part. Then what happened? Yes.
I don't know, I started hearing some syncopations, like pretty early on after the chaos.
Right.
And it was, for me, very, very interesting.
Yes.
And I started to enjoy the chaos. I didn't enjoy the chaos at first, but when I started hearing different syncopations throughout until it became kind of unanimous that they're all doing the same thing. And then for me, it was nice, but it was a little bit boring. It was a little bit of chaos in there myself.
Yep. Thank you. And then what?
I was curious what it would have been like if there was no video, like if I was just listening to it. Because what I found when I was looking for the harmony that I could see, so there were a few in the front that were together, and my eyes were focusing on those. And then I noticed that, you know, they were all coming together in the beat. But I was looking for the similarity and wanting there to be that in syncness.
Yeah, you were almost cheering them on. Come on, little guy, you can do it, right? Yes.
How does it work?
How is it working? I'm going to get to that. Isn't it amazing? Total. And again, it happens in all areas of science. We see entrainment in physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, pharmacology. It is in every area of science. There is a level of entrainment. Okay, so it can happen in different ways. Any other comments about what else happened? What happened when everything started coming together? Did anyone get concerned about that? Did anyone feel concerned about everyone in time all together? There's a critical component that you saw in that video, but that I didn't draw your attention to. Did you see the floor in which the metronomes were all sitting in? It's not a flat surface that can't move. It was flexible flooring. There was some flexibility there. And a lot of that is similar to our moods. We need, as human beings, to have a certain level of flexible environment for us to come together and connect. When things start getting too rigid, we don't connect. And there's probably a whole bunch of examples that you can think of right now that are happening in your own life and histories where that was the case. There's a need for a level of flexibility, openness, for us to have true connection so we can come together. We're going to enter into a next activity that's in your workbook. So if you've got your workbook, would you please turn to page 19? And we're going to specifically be looking at a playlist now. But I love how we're also exploring just these general elements of music and how they relate to us as human beings, and how we can see music in our day-to-day lives. I mean, at the end of the day, you're music. You're all music in this room. The way that you speak, where you put your pauses, the tempo in which you walk and talk and move. And then there's going to be the lyrics, the actual words that you use, the way in which you share your melodies. You know what I often think of key messaging? You know those familiar phrases that you say? That's like the chorus for your song that you are sharing with people. So we are music. The power of the playlist is when we're going to other people's music and bringing it into our own lives. And we're going to do that with this exercise called Rhythm of Life. And just before we start, does anyone have a question so far that you'd like to ask that's burning? Anyone have a question? Yes.
So I guess in that metronome example, if it was more of a solid bass, we wouldn't have seen entrainment happen.
I think, okay, we're going to have to do the test, okay? So we need to do more research. One of the pieces of homework I'm giving you today is to dig a little deeper into entrainment and to see what you can find online, but also in your own lives and where you see it. The first place that I read about it was around the grandfather clocks. And I can't imagine them putting grandfather clocks on flexible flooring, but maybe it was. So let's do a little bit of research and find out, okay? Thank you for that. Any other questions? Great. All right, let's go into Rhythm of Life. In your exercise book, in your workbook, you are going to see this graph. And down the y-axis at the top, you're going to see my best self. And at the bottom, you're going to see my not so good self. And you're going to see that I have not described those in any more detail than what you see before you. And there's a reason for that. Because how you see your best self is not how I'm going to see my best self. You may see your best self as highly productive, overly enthusiastic, full of joy, light, and sun. You might also see it as relaxed, chillaxed, feeling comforted. So how you describe your best self is up to you, but I'd like you to take a minute and write a few words in there about how you do describe your best self. And then how do you describe your average self? And last, how do you describe your not so good self? And does it include endless, television streaming with, those cheesies and half a bottle of wine? Like what, oh, that was just me. So, you look at it for yourself. What is, and all of a sudden isolating myself and not wanting to talk to anybody and turning off the ringer. Oh, it's all the things, friends. So you can describe it for yourself. At the bottom, you can see we're looking at a timeline. So again, I kind of share with you a little bit of the idea of that, but I recognize we all wake up at different times. We all go to bed at different times. Noon is different to all of us. So you can again put in a typical timeline for you on what you would classify a regular day. And if you're working right now, I'm going to suggest do a work day. So put in one of those. If you're not working right now, put in just Wednesday. Like one of those days, and fill it in. And then we're going to plot our graph. So I am going to become very vulnerable and share my day, and you're going to see that I'm a morning person. For some of you, that is the most annoying thing in the entire world, and you're glad you weren't my roommate during university because I was like up and at 'em, ready to go. And I just love the morning. You can see that I stay pretty up for a good beginning of the day. And by the time I hit noon, I've already done the majority of my work day. I start coming down a little less enthusiastically. And then my lowest point is at dinner with a bump right before bed, because you know what? I love to go to sleep. I love sleeping. But that's me. Yours is going to be very different. So as you put this together, and it looks like this, can you just talk to your neighbor and share with them a little bit about the rhythm of your day? Go ahead. All right, are you ready for the next step? All right. I want you to think about only one place where if you were 10% different, either up a little bit or down a bit, that you would feel better, maybe even for the whole day. So just 10% different. We're not looking for a tremendous amount, but the reason why I'm saying you might want to go up a little bit, because you might feel like you need a little more oomph at that time of day, or down because maybe you're feeling too ramped up at that time of day. Some people get that in the evenings. Mine is probably no surprise. You see where it is. The last question I'm going to ask on this is, what feeling do you need? One word. What feeling do you need at that time of day? And you might be looking at mine right now and go, oh, yeah, she needs some energy. No, I don't. I don't need energy. I've had energy all morning, and honestly, I like coming down. I like coming down in the afternoon. I like coming down into the evening. You know what I don't love? The question, what's for supper? I don't like demands when I'm down, right? I want to feel love and nurturing at that time of day. So I would like you to think about honestly, what is the feeling you need at the place you have circled? And I've just put up a few words to help you out, but please choose your own. One word that you need. Does everyone have their word? The one word that you need? Are you close? Are you negotiating with yourself? Oh, it's between these three. Okay, try to pick the best one for you for that moment in time. And I'm going to count to 3, and I want everyone in the room to yell out their one word, okay? So let's get some air going. Okay, ready? We're all going to say it out loud, all simultaneously. We're going to do some like entrainment right now, but with one word that's very different, so it's not entrainment at all. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Great words. That is the name of your playlist. That one word is the name of your playlist for that time of day. It doesn't need to be a long playlist. This is a short playlist, 3 or 4 or 5 songs that every time you hear them, they make you feel exactly that way. Oh, does that sound like fun? Something you can just have in your pocket and quickly slip and listen to, 1 or 2 songs at a time. Turn it on shuffle so you don't get too tired of the first song that comes on. But it just needs to help you feel that way every time you listen to it. You know what the greatest thing about digital music is right now for me in this work? Is when one of those songs no longer works, delete and add in a new one. And we can do that for the rest of our lives. I want to go over and address a couple more elements of music today that are important when we're thinking of mood. And the first one I want to look at is silence. Silence has a vibe. For some of us, it might make us feel a little nervous, almost, because we're not used to it. And some of us, it might be something we crave. We also talked about, when I told you the story about me having, obviously, some postpartum depression, taking silence into the car was a really important thing because music is so incredibly evocative in itself, and I just couldn't take it all in. It added too much cognitive load to an already full life that I was feeling in that moment. So I took a break from music. When you think of silence, what's coming to mind for you? And you don't have to answer that. You can just think about it right now. Is silence something you need? Is it something you crave? Is it something that you don't want too much of? And the last point of context that I want us to take away from is not silence at all, but the fastest note called the hemi-demi semiquaver. Okay? Does that not even look like the fastest note ever? And what it means in music is to play as fast as possible with humor. With humor. One of my favorite things. I'm introducing silence and the hemi-demi semiquaver for someone who needs to hear it right now. Silence might be something that you need to add in a bit into your life. It might also be something that you have too much of and you need to add in a bit more sound. This particular note is to remind us all about that there's good humor in failing faster. Oh my goodness. Friends, when we're moody, we're moody. And it ain't pretty. It is our least pretty selves that we are when we are moody and people are having to hang out with us and some people don't want to be with us when we're feeling that way. And we don't feel good about it either. Sometimes we're feeling that amygdala's like locked right up in our brain and we begin to whir and we're worrying about things. But music does have this incredible capacity to help us unlock it a bit. And we need to give ourselves some flexibility, like in entrainment, to have the flexibility around, to be gentle on ourselves, that we can fail a little bit faster and jump off. And laughing with someone is some of the most beautiful music we can create. If you haven't experienced laughter lately, I recommend, hanging around with someone who just does that for you, walking by a school during recess where the kids are yelling and screaming and laughing, and just reminding yourself what it sounds like. But if we could just jump off this note of life, this music of life once in a while when we need to, as fast as possible, and with good humor. When words are not enough, let music start the conversation. Be it around some of the theory we're talking about, looking at the elements of music, putting together a playlist, identifying the different mood that comes from music itself. Here's your resources and homework for the week. As I was mentioning, take a minute and research entrainment. It's very deep, and it does go across a lot of areas of science. And look at if it does indeed apply to you in some way. Complete your rhythm of life playlist, and I put an S there because we worked on one today, thinking about that one name for that particular day, but you probably felt it too. As we were going through the different times of day and wanting to feel 10% different, you might want more than one throughout the day to have available. And again, keep in mind, you can change it along the way. And the last is on page 25 in your playlist book. This one is when we get back to looking at creating our anchors and how music is so rewarding and retrievable. We can use it for positive anchors, that we can develop new neural pathways and connect to it for certain and specific times in our life. And I've put together a few questions there so you can identify the anchor songs you already have and perhaps a few new ones you want to create. The books and a whole bunch of fun continue to be in the cafe downstairs. Remember to grab a cup of coffee before you leave. And next week is going to be right back here. It is our last day. I'm already sad. I'm sad because of the joy that these last 6 weeks have brought to me personally, but that I've been able to meet some new friends and talk about something that I just am so passionate about and that I've loved since I was young, since I can remember. We're also going to look at the top tips we've learned along the way. I'm going to bring, I was going to tell you the number right now, but I'm not quite sure. It's either going to be 7, 8, or 10. So, but the top tips we're going to look at that we've shared along the way. And then what we're going to do is plan for motivation. How do we put together that really important playlist of motivation to help us just launch ourselves into 2023. It's going to be a playlist that I want us to use over and over in 2023 as we shift from this year into the next. If you want to watch any of the recordings, and I'd be delighted if you did, and please send me any notes if you have any questions, to amplify.nmc.ca. And of course today, as in every week, we are so thankful to the generosity of Bell for this particular program, The Power of the Playlist. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I want to wish you a great week. I will be here if you've got any further questions for the rest of the not the rest of the afternoon, a few more minutes at the end of this. Thank you so much.